welcome to another episode of Sarson Suppers. If you watched our quick pickling so easy a baby could do it video, you notice that I sort of preluded this episode right now with pickling stuffed peppers. So last week we took the peppers that we had banana peppers, we had cherry peppers, and we de-seeded them, put them in this container, poured white vinegar into it, and they've been sitting on my counter for the past week. So now we're going to stuff them. This is pretty fun recipe to do. Oh, maybe I should have opened this up first. There we go. All right, so just dump the vinegar out. Get all of your peppers out of there, and you want them strained. And we're going to set this vinegar aside because I'm going to use it later on down the line to pickle some more vegetables this week. I know I have some that need to be used, but that I'm not going to get to, cook them or eat them fast enough. So I'm going to use this pickling liquid. That way we can save and conserve because it's good to go and no reason to throw it out. All right, so now we have our stuffed peppers. And what are we going to stuff them with? Pretty simple. Some beautiful prosciutto, a really, really gorgeous Italian style ham that is thinly sliced, and also some provolone. Now, why do you use the prosciutto and why do you use the provolone? You want to use the prosciutto or something similar to it because if you use a thicker style meat, it's going to just be a lot like in your mouth, like for a mouthfeel. The prosciutto pulls off, it has a nice bite to it. It'll be able to stuff nicely into the peppers. And why do you use the provolone? The provolone is a sharp yet also slightly dry cheese. If you put another cheese in here that's like really greasy and oily, it just won't be able to absorb all the flavors that you want for your stuffed peppers. So the provolone works really, really nicely. And we're going to be using something a little bit, or doing something a little bit different that isn't always found in your stuffed pickled peppers. And we're going to be adding basil to it. Now I'm using this basil that I got last week in my CSA from Taproot, and I haven't been able to use it all. It's starting to get bruised and browned. It's still good, but I want to be able to use it in a capacity that is not really showing off the basil, such as, a caprese salad, just because it's not looking the prettiest right now. So we're going to take the take the prosciutto, you want to slice that off, and we're going to make some cuts into our provolone and start stuffing. The fun part, yet somewhat tricky part about stuffing the peppers is because each of them is different. You're going to have to kind of mold your filling, your stuffing here, to fit the pepper. So it can take a little bit of time just to do that, but it's not very difficult. And what we're going to do is when we're done stuffing them, put them right back into this container. But first, I want to add some garlic. I have about 6 cloves in here because quite frankly, they were almost embarrassingly small. So they equal to about 3 whole cloves and some bay leaves. I'm just gonna pop that right in. Because when we're done stuffing them, we're going to pour oil inside. That way it helps preserve them even longer. And the garlic and the bay leaves will help with the flavoring. So I'm going to set up some of this and then I'm going to come right back to show you how we stuff it. I just wanted you to see the beautiful little setup I have right now. Hi, okay. I am back and have stuffed all of these beautiful peppers. You see that? Gorgeous. Now I'm going to give you little tips and tricks on how to do this. Stuffing these peppers can be a little bit on the tricky side simply because each one is different shaped. And you have to be a little gentle because you don't want to break the seams, you'll split them in half. Now, in order to prep and be successful, or to be successful at this, you want to prep just a little bit. So when you're getting yourself together, you want to make sure that what you're working with your prosciutto and your provolone, that it really lines up a bit with the pepper that you're working on. I also like to make sure that see with your slice of prosciutto how there's always this line of fat right at the bottom here, or whichever way you're holding it. This is a perfect natural sealant. So when you're putting your provolone and your basil, if you're using that, I try to use this bottom part that's more fatty. See, this isn't as the bottom sealer. So I'll put everything on, pinch the bottoms, that way it can go into the end part without falling down. And then take your prosciutto, and as you're rolling it, before you stuff it, roll with the fat side towards you so you can use that also as a sealant. So you have like a very nice piece of stuffed meat that is going inside the pepper that isn't just falling out and causing you a lot of irritation. All right, so we have everything all set up here, and just going to roll this. And sometimes you have to push your provolone down just a little bit because you don't want like too much meat at the bottom. And give it just a good little shove right in there. Now you want to hold it a little tightly. There you go. As you're stuffing that in. Okay, perfect. Now for this one, you can see that there's still some room in there. All right, then just make yourself another one. I'm going to use this piece that I had that I had set up for the cherry pepper. Perfect little topper right in there. And now lastly, we want to use another piece of prosciutto at the top, because sometimes you will be able to see some of the provolone and the basil from your initial meat piece, and you just want to make sure that it's kind of sealed up and stuffed to the capacity. So just put it in, you can squeeze it and play around with it. It's totally fine. Just be, again, a little gentle, mindful of how hard you're pushing. And that's it. Then put it right into your container. I like to, when I'm stuffing a container like this, lay it on the side. That way you're able to get most of the space that you're using. And again, that was a bigger pepper. This one is a little smaller one. So we'll see how this goes. The thing about this is that sometimes you have to adjust, and your cheese may be a little thicker. So easy squeezy, no worries. Just unroll it, sort of seal your meat up, put it right in. There we go, there we go. And if you have a little excess at the top, not a big deal, just slice that off. And see, this is what I was talking about earlier, how you can see inside of there. We don't want that. So I'm gonna take a little slice of the prosciutto that I have here and just kind of stuff it around so it's like nice and comfy cozy inside there, You want to make sure that when it's in the jar also, it doesn't like spill out around it. And Sorry, I guess I should be holding it up here. And there you go. Put that right inside. And lastly, we have our cherry pepper here. Now you'll find that as you're working and doing this, you will get lots of, little ends, little pieces, which is perfect because sometimes you just need to put those pieces together and you have exactly what you need in order to stuff the next one. Okay. Stuff it in the camera. Okay, perfect. Now you have all your stuffed peppers in here. I'm gonna put the ones that I stuffed off camera of the cherry peppers inside. And again, be gentle as you're putting them in, and you want them up that way. Of course, gravity doesn't pull them down. Perfect. All right, and now all you have to do is just add your oil. I like to use olive oil for this. I really am not a fan of canola or vegetable. They all have their purposes, but for something like this, I really believe in olive oil. And also, you don't need to get expensive olive oil. It can be super, good olive oil can be really, really pricey, but I got this at Aldi. Got a couple of the smaller jars because that's all they had, so that's what we're working with. Now, when you're putting your olive oil in here, you also maybe want to shake it a little bit, try and get it inside those peppers. You want to also try and make sure that you don't get a lot of air in there, simply because it's not always beneficial for storing purposes. And also, when you have trapped air, that has more of a chance for it to have bacteria that can be in there. Not really something that you have to worry about all the time, of course, because you're not, at least with this recipe, what we're doing here, we're not going to be storing this for a long time. But there we go. But you certainly want to be mindful of it because you don't want to get anyone sick. So, and you can see, as we're sort of shaking up, you can see these bubbles starting to rise. They're coming up, right? Okay. So now what do you do with this? We are not canning it, so it's not going to go on the shelf. This is, again, a quick pickling for your own personal usage. If you want to, these make fabulous gifts. If you're going to a party, a house, anything, and bring this along, if this is what you bring to my house, you're invited all the time. So it's gonna go in the fridge, sit for a week, and then we'll be able to eat it as snacks or whatever you feel, suited for. It's perfect. It's not the healthiest, but it's a nice little treat. It uses up your things, all of your the peppers that you've been pickling. It gives you another way to use up the items that are coming in right now during this very abundant August season, and it's delicious. So I'm gonna let this sit for a bit outside without the lid on because I want the bubbles to start coming. Also, if you have, this is actually like a large chopstick for woks, you can sort of put that in there, move it around, see all those bubbles coming up now. Yeah, that is definitely a little bit helpful. All right. And here we go. This is how you make stuffed pickled peppers with prosciutto, provolone, and basil. Thanks for coming. Bye. All right, I also need to remember to say like, subscribe, do all the things on all of the social media stuff for Starston Suppers. You can like me on Facebook, you can follow me on Instagram, and of course, please, like and subscribe below. Thanks, guys.